When my sister Priya bought the house on Sycamore Lane, she was over the moon. A young architect in her early 30s, she had worked for years, juggling two jobs, freelancing, and living off ramen, to finally buy her first home. It was a charming craftsman-style house on a quiet street in a neighborhood with big trees, manicured lawns, and, unfortunately, an HOA led by a woman named Karen. You know the type: rigid bob haircut, oversized sunglasses, and a perpetual scowl that could curdle milk. She lived two doors down and made it her mission to patrol the street like a suburban sheriff. To Karen, anyone unfamiliar was either suspicious or trespassing, and if you didn't fit her idea of what a homeowner looked like, you were a problem. Priya didn't move in right away. The house needed renovations, a fresh coat of paint, plumbing updates, and her personal touch. So during the day, she'd come by in work clothes, clipboard in hand, meeting contractors or sketching on her iPad while seated on the porch. She's petite, always dressed casually, and yes, she's Indian American. One Tuesday morning, Priya pulled up, coffee in hand, ready to meet with her electrician. She unlocked the door, stepped inside, and 2 minutes later, a police cruiser pulled up in front of the house. Two officers got out, approached, and knocked. Priya opened the door, confused. "Ma'am," one said, "we received a report of a suspected break-in at this address." "A break-in?" she repeated, bewildered. "Yes, a neighbor called and said someone was inside a home they don't own." Priya blinked. I, I do own this house. I closed on it 2 weeks ago. Would you like to see my ID and paperwork?" Karen, of course, was standing across the street, arms crossed, watching with smug satisfaction. She must have called the police the moment Priya stepped inside. The officers reviewed Priya's ID and title documents, apologized, and left. One even muttered, "Sorry, ma'am. This happens more than you'd think." But Priya, she was livid. That night, she came over to my house for dinner and told me the whole story. I was furious too, but she had a plan. The next morning, Priya returned to the house, this time with something special: a giant red "Sold" banner and a new sign beneath it that read, "Proudly owned by Priya Shah, architect, homeowner, and neighbor." Then she posted about it on the neighborhood app, attaching the full story and a photo of herself holding the deed, with the caption, "To the neighbor who reported me for trespassing on my own property. Hello, I live here now." The post exploded. Hundreds of comments poured in. Neighbors were horrified at what had happened. Some had their own Karen horror stories. Others rallied around Priya, welcoming her to the neighborhood properly. One woman brought over cookies. Another offered to help with gardening. Karen? She didn't say a word. But the next HOA meeting was packed, and Priya showed up. She calmly walked to the front of the room, introduced herself, and said, "I'm Priya Shah, homeowner on Sycamore Lane. I was reported for trespassing by someone who couldn't imagine a woman like me owning property here. I'd like to remind the board and the community that homeownership comes in every color, accent, and outfit. Get used to it." The room erupted in applause. Karen turned crimson and left halfway through. Now, Priya is known and loved in the neighborhood. She hosts book clubs on the porch, helps design playhouses for the local school, and has a plaque in her front yard that reads, "Welcome, neighbor, unless you're calling the cops." Some people still peek through their blinds when they see someone new. But most, they've learned that what really makes someone a good neighbor isn't whether they look the part, it's whether they act like one. And Priya, she's not just acting the part, she's owning it.